Have you ever wondered what a single day can really tell us about a nation of over 1 billion people? Well, you'd be surprised. We're going to take a look at just one 24-hour window, September 8th, 2025, to get a real snapshot of India's triumphs, its challenges, and all the strategic moves shaping its future. But first, let's start with just a number. 8. What takes 8 years to achieve? Just let that sink in for a second. We'll come back to it, I promise. So, to piece this day together, we're going to look at 4 key stories. We'll start with a huge, long-awaited victory. Then we'll see how the nation is grappling with a natural disaster, a major move to kickstart the economy, and finally, that delicate dance of politics, both at home and on the world stage. All right, let's kick things off on a real high note, a moment of pure national pride that was, as you might have guessed, a very, very long time in the making. Yep, you got it. The answer is 8 years. After nearly a decade of waiting, India's men's hockey team finally clinched the Asia Cup title again. I mean, this was a massive achievement that had the entire country buzzing. And this wasn't some nail-biter either. It was a decisive 4-1 victory over a really tough South Korean team. But the real prize, the real game changer, is that last point you see there. This win is basically a golden ticket straight to the 2026 World Cup. It means they get to bypass all those grueling qualification rounds. That is a huge strategic win. You know, Coach Craig Fulton really summed it up perfectly. This win wasn't just about skill. It was about pure resilience, a fighting spirit. It really signals a powerful comeback for Indian hockey on the world stage. But as one part of the nation was celebrating, another was facing a much harsher reality. On the very same day, the country was also dealing with the serious aftermath of a natural disaster. And this really gets you thinking, when a disaster strikes one region, how far do those consequences actually travel? Well, as we're about to see, the ripples spread from the personal to the political, and right into everyone's wallet. On the ground, the response was, of course, immediate. Prime Minister Modi announced he'd be visiting the flood-ravaged states of Punjab and Himachal Pradesh. But the economic impact was just as fast. The damage to the Basmati rice crops, that was already hitting markets, with prices starting to creep up for everybody. Now, here's where it gets interesting. While that price hike is very real, the experts seem to think it's a short-term shock. The expectation is that prices will calm down and stabilize once the next harvest season rolls around, which would provide some much-needed relief. Okay, so let's shift gears a little. We're going from a reactive response to a disaster to a really proactive, totally calculated move by the government, aimed squarely at boosting a key part of the economy. So how do you get people to start spending? Well, the government's answer was a huge tax cut on small cars and two-wheelers, slashing the GST from 28% all the way down to 18%. That is a massive drop. The goal is pretty simple: make vehicles cheaper and get people into showrooms, especially right before the huge festive shopping season. But why this big move right now? This chart tells the whole story. Dealerships are just overloaded with unsold cars. On average, a vehicle is sitting there for 56 days. That's more than double the healthy time frame of 21 days. So this tax cut is designed to fix that inventory glut, and fix it fast. And this reveals a really fascinating waiting game. So August actually saw a small bump in sales. But look at that second step. Car makers, knowing this tax cut was coming, deliberately sent fewer cars to dealers. The entire industry is basically holding its breath for September 22nd, when these new lower prices finally kick in. All right, for our last piece of the puzzle, let's zoom out. Because on this very same day, India was also navigating its complex role in the world, while at the same time dealing with some serious political friction within its own borders. On the international front, it was kind of a mixed bag. First, a potential headache for a lot of people. The United States tightened up its visa interview policies. That's a move that could create some new hurdles for many Indian applicants. But hey, while one door got a little tighter, another one opened up wider. India and Israel signed a brand new investment agreement right there in New Delhi, signaling a clear strategy to deepen their economic and defense partnership. And on the global stage, after a recent attack in Jerusalem, Prime Minister Modi took the opportunity to reinforce a core pillar of India's foreign policy: a firm, unequivocal condemnation of terrorism in all its forms. Now, back home, a political firestorm was brewing. A controversy had erupted in Jammu and Kashmir over a religious emblem displayed at the revered Hazra Bal shrine. A Congress MP, Tariq Anwar, dismissed the issue, saying, "What's done is done." Well, that comment was immediately seized upon by the opposition BJP as being insensitive, and it just highlights the deep and very easily ignited political tensions in the region. So let's just pull back for a second and look at this single day. You've got a sporting triumph 8 years in the making, a climate challenge with immediate economic costs, a strategic tax cut to juice the market, and that constant balancing act of foreign policy and domestic politics. It's a lot. What you see is a picture of a nation in constant motion, managing crises while seizing opportunities, celebrating huge victories while navigating deep, deep divisions, all at once. It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? Is this constant juggling act of triumph and challenge not just a snapshot of a single day, but maybe the very definition of India's path forward?